Elizabeth Chappell, a lifelong entrepreneur who finally found my niche. After years of new ideas and jumping from business to business, I figured out how to turn a craft into a successful career. In 2016, I started a monthly subscription box for quilters. That little startup has grown into a thriving, multiple six-figure business that I am so proud of. As a published author, designer of fabrics and patterns being sold throughout the world, my favorite thing to do is to teach others how to grow a career of their dreams. Each week, you'll hear from me or from other guests who are creative entrepreneurs, so you can learn exactly what to do and what not to do to grow a career that's more rewarding and successful than you ever thought possible. If you're ready to turn your craft into a career that you love, I am so excited you're here. Welcome to the Craft to Career podcast. If today's title did not capture your attention, I don't know what will. But who is this female billionaire that we are learning from? You're going to find out. And whether or not you like this female billionaire is completely beside the point. You can learn from this entrepreneur, and we are going to dive into the many lessons that we can learn from this successful female entrepreneur. Before we dive in and you find out who this billionaire is and what we can learn from her, take just a moment to leave a review for the podcast. It is as simple as going down in the Apple Podcast and tapping the stars, however many stars you want to leave. If you have an extra second to write a few words on the podcast, this will really help another entrepreneur who's debating, should I listen to this podcast? What's in it? Is it worth it? And I am going to read a review that came up just recently. It is a beautiful review, and it actually really almost made me cry in a good way. It is from So Harmony Melody, and she says, I have a confession. I have been listening to the Craft to Career podcast since it started. I've loved every episode, all of the wisdom and stories that Elizabeth shares, along with her amazing guests. I have been eating it all up for years with the intent to start my business. My confession is that I have been a victim to my mindset. I have for quite a while thought I would love to write a review, but this is quickly followed by the thought, when the time is right, when I start my business. Over the past week, I have been presented with the opportunity to attend Elizabeth's upcoming business retreat in the fall. And after reaching out to her with questions, she promptly responded with the kindest and most encouraging message. Elizabeth made me feel so worthy of entering into this retreat with a group of amazing quilterpreneurs. And I had this aha moment when I realized this is the same Elizabeth that I know from her podcast, the same uplifting and educating cheerleader who shows up week after week to help each of us reach our full potential. I am honored to be one of the attendees for her fall retreat, and even more glad that I have had the opportunity to learn and grow with Elizabeth through her podcast. In her latest podcast with the incredible Nicole Burke, Nicole said, you have to decide that you want your life to be different than it is right now. I have made my decision. I'm stepping into a new chapter, and I'm so thankful to have these amazing ladies guiding my steps. Do yourself a favor and subscribe to the Craft to Career podcast immediately. Melody, this really touched my heart. I remember our correspondence, and I'm so excited to have you coming to the retreat this fall. And honestly, I just got a little emotional reading this. It really means the world to me. Thank you so much for your review. And for those of you listening, there are a handful of spots left to the Quilterpreneur Retreat. There will be a link in the show notes where you can go and check it out. We are going to be in the lovely Rocky Mountains in Sundance, Utah. We are going to have guests such as Jenna Kutcher and some amazing quilterpreneurs like Emily of Quilty Love, Emily Dennis, Amy Smart of Diary of a Quilter, and many more who are going to be speaking on the sustainability of business, both emotionally. How can you sustain your business from an emotional standpoint and not burn out? And financially, how can you earn money so that you have a sustainable business that can, not have you go bankrupt or not have you not earning any money? So if you are interested in coming, and one of the questions that Melody had was, I'm just starting, is this for me? And that is the beautiful thing about this business retreat. It will motivate you no matter where you are in your business. If you are just starting, this will give you ideas, inspiration, ways to really start your business in a healthy way. And if you're further along in your business, you've probably felt the burnout. You've probably wondered, how can I make this sustainable? So it will help you, at the beginning, middle stages of your business, further along, not to mention the camaraderie and the friendships that you will make that you just can't, you can't make those in any other way. So there are a handful of spots left. If you are interested in coming, again, click the show notes. There's a link to that retreat that will be this September. And now let's dive in and let's talk about this female billionaire. Who is it? What can we learn? And I invite you, regardless if you like this businesswoman or not, stick around to learn what you can, because she is arguably one of the most influential, successful entrepreneurs of our time. And it is none other than Taylor Swift. Now, again, she has, a love-hate effect on people, which is lesson number 1. You do not want to be for everyone. Those of you listening, there are some of you who really love Taylor Swift. There's even a term for people who love her, Swifties. That's really powerful. And then I'll ask people, are you a Taylor Swift fan? It is generally very not at all, I can't stand her, or, oh yeah, I love her. There are some people in the middle, but she's kind of a polarizing figure. This is lesson number 1. Be polarizing. Be for something, take a stand and know that the more successful you are, the more you're going to be polarizing. With more success, there are more eyes on you and more people are either going to support you or not. And so Taylor Swift is a great example of that. So many lessons. Let's look at lesson number 2. Taylor Swift is a master storyteller. She tells stories in every one of her songs. As far as I'm aware, she's one of the first artists in our era, and maybe the history, I don't know, who really is pretty private about her life. However, in her songs, she shares these deep looks of things that her fans are dying to know. Like, oh my goodness, wow, look at what we learn about Taylor Swift through these songs. And she's an amazing writer. Her words are beautifully spun. And so she invites us into her world by telling these stories. And there's a previous podcast episode where I talk about the power of story. Stories sell. So much so that even if with my new fabric collection, if I tell you why I wrote it, what's behind it, all of a sudden people want to buy it more, because there's a story associated with it. So how can we do this in our business? Let's just look at quilt patterns for one. Let's say that you make a quilt pattern. Share the story behind it, which also comes into the creation of a quilt pattern. How can you make it personal? How can you have it reflect you and tell a story about you and your love and the things that you feel very personally about? In fact, the first quilt pattern that I did this with was After the Rain, and it's a rainbow pattern. And the quilting, I was going to call it something like Here Comes the Sun or something generic, which I was worried about copyright with that because of, the Beatles song. But that aside, I was like, hold on, let's tell a story here. There's this rainbow, but it only comes after the rain. There has to be difficulties the beauty can only come after those trials. You cannot have a rainbow unless there's rain. And the quilting on that quilt is little raindrops. And I love that, the beauty and the symbolism that comes there. So that's one example. Next, I have yet to release, it will be releasing this summer, a bunch of, 6 to be exact, 6 little blocks that are stories from childhood. So my next fabric collection is called Bedtime Stories. And then going even deeper, I have made these pictorial quilt blocks that are from the stories that are on my fabric. So, for example, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the Three Little Pigs, and so on. And these are all stories that I was told as a child going to bed. They are very personal and sentimental to me and to many people. Many of us can remember being told those stories and how that was a part of our childhood. And so it literally is a story, but the story of even like, I was told this as a child. I'm trying to find pictures of my dad reading stories to us just so that it makes it even more personal and brings that imagery of like, wow. So how can you do that as a business owner? I mean, regardless if you're a quilt pattern designer, I mean, Taylor Swift, she's a singer. No matter what product you sell, you can think of a way to tell a story with that product. And I do invite you to go back and listen to the episode about storytelling, because there's some great examples in that podcast episode. That is lesson number 2 that we get from Taylor Swift, is the storytelling. Number 3, I'm going to call this Easter eggs, but let's go with marketing/Easter eggs. Taylor Swift is so clever in her marketing. She gives little Easter eggs that her fans are so excited about. So I might get the award. I think it's the Grammys, right? The Grammys are the music awards. At the Grammys this year, she won an award. And when she went up to get her award, that's when and where she announced that she has a new album coming out. That was like such a shocking moment. But when she made the announcement, she held up 2 fingers and kind of like a peace sign. And her fans were like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, what it meant was she had 2 albums. This was a shock, a surprise. People, some of her Swiftie fans had been hoping for this for a long time, but this was her first time that she released one album at midnight and then another one at like 2 a.m. And she had given that little hint when she made the announcement by holding up the peace sign. She had a library open up in California. For major Swifties out there, you're going to be like, Elizabeth, get your facts right. But this is what I've got for you. Before this new album opened up, like the day or 2 before, there was a library in California that opened up, and it was open to the public, but people were going on social media and posting images, and it was full of little Easter eggs. And Easter eggs just mean like little hints that kind of tell you a hint about what's going to come. And she had a whole display. It was like a museum kind of, and you could walk through, and it had all these hints about what was going to be on her album, what it was about, who it was about. She also did on iTunes, where she had a playlist come up ahead of time for this album, and certain lyrics were capitalized. So people started to put together all those capitalized letters, and it would spell out new titles or hints about her songs that were coming out. It almost became like a game, and it is. Her fans, it's like a game where they are looking for the clues and studying what hints is she giving? What is she doing? And what a fun way to make marketing exciting. Sometimes it can feel a little bland to like, oh, here's another thing. So how can you have fun with it? How could you make it a little more exciting? I remember one of her recent albums, maybe I don't even know which one it was, but on Instagram, she had a little video where she had like a bingo, those old fashioned bingo, you roll a little, I don't even know what you call it, like a circle thing, and the number comes out like B1. And instead of the bingo things that were coming out, it was a track number. She would say, okay, song number 1. And then she would tell the background about that song. And this was all before the album came out. So here we are, just so excited. She's giving us little story background about the songs. And now we cannot wait to hear it when it comes out. So what could you do with your product? How could you create Easter eggs or fun, really creative ways that other people aren't doing? Because people love to be excited. They love to be thrilled. Think about your birthday. It's so exciting because you just can't wait to see what these surprise gifts are. What are people bringing you? What did your parents give you? Or you're going to a party for someone else. Ooh, who's going to be there? What's the food going to be? We love anticipation and excitement of the unknown when we are, it's like a party. So how could you do that for your customers? The possibilities are endless. Things that I am thinking of, and this is just to give an example to help get your imagination going. With that quilt that I have with the 6 different blocks that are like the story blocks, I'm trying to figure out if I can do like a scratch, those lottery tickets or something where you take a coin and you have to scratch away to see what's underneath. I want to create a visual where I do that and I'll kind of scratch away or lift it up to reveal each one of those blocks one at a time and make it this anticipatory, like, what is the next one going to be? And I want to show my bedtime fabric story, like which one, all of them are hinted at in my fabric collection. So let's take a look at the fabric. Which one do you think it could be? And just kind of get people looking and excited. I know Tulip Pink has done a bit of that. Like she'll hide hidden characters in her fabric and you have to look and see where can you find the animal. So any way that you could have a sort of game or a party, because again, I'm speaking to the quilting community, but this is the same for any community. To have a new product come out in and of itself is not so exciting, but you can make it exciting. Think about the Barbie movie that came out last year. There was so much hype about it. That's probably the only movie I've been to in a long time, simply because there was so much hype about it. I wanted to go see what it was all about. And, a lot of people got dressed up and went and took photos at the theater, and the marketing behind it, it was not just the release of a movie. It was a big event that people were very like, what's going on? What is this all about? So that's one thing we can learn from Taylor Swift. Her Easter eggs, her marketing, dropping little clues, making her launches and releases extra special, a whole event. And then the next thing that I want to talk about is, it kind of goes hand in hand with the Easter eggs, but it's the sense of community. And we've talked about it, there's Swifties, but this community who loves Taylor Swift, they are loyal. My goodness. When Taylor Swift comes out and sings about Jake Gyllenhaal, I never know how to say that, or any of her ex-boyfriends, all of a sudden the Swifties are so loyal to Taylor Swift. They're like, I'll never watch a movie with him again. Sometimes I think it can veer into a little extreme where they'll go and say mean things to that person. I don't endorse that. But, and neither would Taylor Swift, for the record. But this sense of community, and it's genius how she does it. Along with those Easter eggs, the whole community comes together. There are Instagram accounts dedicated to Taylor Swift where they will share their discoveries. Like, hey, did you see in this song, she talks about this? And in this song over here, she also talks about this. I think it's the same thing. Or her concerts. They'll share her concerts and what's happening each night, which goes into the next thing that we'll talk about, but we're not quite there yet. So creating this sense of community where these Swifties, they're friends, they're a community. Even if Taylor Swift, she'll open up a sale of a sweater that goes along with her song Cardigan, and she only has a limited number. It's not like the Swifties are upset with the people who did get the sweater. They're like, man, that's so cool that you got that. Lucky you. There's only a limited number. And so she has been genius in creating a sense of community where people come together and share their findings, share their love of the music, share, I created these friendship bracelets. What have you created? And they just share in their joy of the product together. It's not a divisive, it's not competitive. It's more of like, let's share in this awesome thing that we love together. And it's really unprecedented. Maybe Harry Potter fans are similar, but J.K. Rowling, that's more of a book. Now I guess they have whatever. It's a little bit different. Taylor Swift is a businesswoman and she is creating a product, and she has made her community of buyers friends. So that's pretty cool. And that's just something to think about. Like, how could I increase the community of my customers? What could I do to help them interact and share what they're buying and get excited about things? which I think part of that too is creating some sort of limited items where there's only a few of a kind that people can get. There is something magical about that. And, to do it legitimately, like you make, I don't know, a t-shirt and there's only 10 of them. And then people, the next month or whatever, when you create 10 more, people will share, look, I got the original. I mean, I'm just throwing out ideas on the top of my head, but ways to make it exciting and have people sharing what they're creating and creating a community. And then I mentioned the concerts. So Taylor Swift, she also creates, like I said, one of a kind. So her concerts, while it's the same set list that she's performing for everyone, with each concert, she would have a mystery song that was different for each concert. So first of all, people are dying to go to the different concerts to hear what's the mystery song going to be. Oh my gosh, I heard that live. I'm the only one who heard that live. And people are watching these Instagram accounts like, what was the song? What's the song she played tonight? What's the dress she wore tonight? She wore a different dress tonight. Who's the guest? She has different guest singers come and sing with her. Who came and performed with her? So there's these elements of surprise that are unique that, again, you can have so much fun with that. Like the first 10 people who buy this also get this, or something, some way to add in where people are very curious, like, and want to watch. What is it that she's going to be doing here? What's happening? So creating that sense of one of a kind, scarcity, but also making it fun where people are legitimately like, ooh, what is it? What could that be? I mean, I'm so impressed with how Taylor Swift runs her business. It's been a masterful thing that she has just gotten better and better at. And then the last thing on that topic that I want to touch on is her adaptability. Sometimes we think, oh, I have to start a business and it has to look this way. We adapt, we change. She was a country singer at first, then more hip hop, now more like folk music. And she adapts and changes. And at first, when she wanted to change out of country, her producers were like, no, that is not going to go well. You got to stick to your lane. And she was like, no, I'm going to do this. Now, keep in mind, she had already built a name for herself. She's very smart. She knew, like, I could do this. There is, at the beginning of your business, that risky area where if you are jumping ship and changing so much so frequently, people don't know who you are and what you sell. So you want to kind of solidify yourself as a something, and then you can tactfully and artfully, pivot. And now Taylor Swift is still a singer. She's still creating songs. It's not like she went from singing to something totally out in left field, but she changed the genre of her song. And so that is a lesson to be learned, how to tactfully pivot and change and share more of who you are, because we evolve and change. We as people naturally evolve and change, and our interests evolve and change. And then I guess I was saying that's the last one, but really just overarching, like what you can see in all of these is that she's having fun. I mean, sure, she's gone through hard times. She's been depressed. She's gone through breakups, but she loves what she does. She loves creation. She loves songwriting. She loves her community. She's so, it seeps, and you can see that and feel it. And so when you find something that you just, every business, you're going to be like, well, there's some parts of the business I don't love. Absolutely. But when you are creating something that just lights you up and is fun for you, that will make everything else just so much more enjoyable. And it shows to your customers. They can see when you're just loving what you do and having so much fun. I mean, I'd love to be in the room where Taylor Swift is with her team and they're talking about like, well, what kind of Easter eggs could we create for this? How could we do this? I mean, so much fun. She's just having fun. And I'm trying that this year with my own business, and it is fun. I mean, even just the other day I released, there's a new pattern. I was like, I want to make a scrap buster pattern that's quick and easy. You can use your scraps. And I went to make a video for Instagram, and on a whim, I'm like, what if I just make it like not even a freebie? I'm going to show it all on Instagram. People can just follow me and make it on Instagram. I've never seen that before, but that'd be kind of fun. And so, yes, I have an option where when the PDF's ready, people can get that PDF, but you can also just follow along on Instagram and make it for free. And I have no idea how that's going to play out. We'll see if, people follow me more or who knows, but it's fun for me. And I'm posting consistently. I have a feeling it'll have a positive impact. And then also I have my big quilt pattern writing course that opens every September. And I thought this year, what if I did something like a little different? And I'm doing a competition that will be coming out shortly where everyone who wants to, anyone can create a quilt block. And it's going to be an open voting for the public. The public can come and vote on their favorite block. And the top winners will earn money. Like the top prize is $1,000. And the top people who win will also get my quilt pattern writing course for free, which is about a $1,000 value. And not only that, it'll be like real time. People can see, wow, these are the blocks that are really resonating with people. Like these are the votes that are coming in. That's really cool to see. And once you've designed that block, I thought how fun for people to be like, okay, I've designed the block. Now I want to write the pattern. Perfect. Now you can come and take my quilt pattern writing course and learn how to write a pattern with your block. So that's really fun for me. And I'm hoping it'll be really fun for the quilting community to just try and create a block. And if you've done it many, many times, go ahead and submit one and see, what people think, if they're liking it. So anyhow, just fun ways for you to just play, to just have a good time, create a sense of community and surprise people, surprise them with, Easter eggs or hidden surprises. I mean, I have other ideas up my sleeve. I can't work out the logistics quite yet, but when I do, I will roll that out. But it's been so exciting and fun. It really just changes the game. It changes your business when you are treating it like a game, when you're just having fun with it. And again, there's so much to learn from Taylor Swift. I mean, lover, hater, that's a lesson in and of itself. But no matter, even if you cannot stand her, we cannot deny what a powerful force she is in the business world. She is a very savvy businesswoman. And we have a front row seat, to see how she's doing it and what she's doing. I mean, if you don't follow her, you could just to get marketing tips because she is genius. I mean, there's so many other things that she's doing and does that I didn't even touch on. But yeah, follow her, follow other successful business owners and see what they're doing and see how you can tweak that for your own audience, for your own products. So that is my episode for you today. And I have a brand new episode for you next week. And it's actually, it may sound a bit depressing, but I mean it in the best way. It is how to handle the haters. And this has come up for me recently. I've had other people who've reached out like, man, I got this email or, this or that. It's been really hard. And I have some thoughts on that. I've been through it. And so I want to share with you how to handle the haters when that happens, because it does happen for business owners. So there is hope for you with that. So join me next Friday right here on the Craft to Career podcast. And again, take just a moment to leave a review for the podcast. It's literally just a tap of the thumb, and it can really change the trajectory for another entrepreneur. So you can pay it forward. And thanks so much for being here. I will see you next Friday right here on the Craft to Career podcast.